What's up, everybody? Welcome to Wayne's World. This is episode number 5, and today's date is April 11th, 2021. So, to start off, I'm going to talk about our upcoming Stage 2 defensive pistol class. This is not the concealed pistol licensing course. This is a next level class. Like, you should at least have some familiarity with your firearm and skills pertaining to your firearm if you're going to sign up for this class. But it's not going to be anything super crazy. We're going to start off with some basic defensive stuff, and it's going to be, a crawl, walk, run type of class. But it's going to be all shooting and all training. Not really any classroom stuff. We're going to do some dry fire drills and a few things like that, but it's not going to be in the classroom. It's going to be on the range all day. So that is taking place May 1st. I put a little message out there yesterday on our Facebook and didn't even put any details, and the class is already half full. We're limiting it to 15. I don't want a whole lot of moving bits and pieces for this, and I want everybody to get the time and training in that they're there looking for. So we're going to try to keep the class size a little smaller. So we're limiting it to 15, and I already got 7 signed up. So if you want in on that, or if you want on the waiting list for the next one that we run, get a hold of us ASAP. So as far as the gear list for this class goes, you're going to need your pistol, obviously. Um, don't bring a single action revolver. If you have a revolver that's double action or double single action, can be shot in either form. That's okay. But I don't want a single action revolvers like the Heritage Rough Riders or the Ruger single sixes. Those aren't really modern day defensive pistols. So if you're going to bring a revolver, that's fine, but make sure it's a revolver that has a cylinder that pops out on the crane and you can use the speed loader for it. So you're going to need your pistol. You're going to need magazines at a minimum of 2, preferably more. Speed loaders, if you're going to bring a revolver, you should have at least 2 speed loaders. A holster for your pistol, a concealed holster, not just a holster. Bring your concealment holster because we want to practice like we play in real life. So, concealment holster, if you have an open carry holster and you want to bring that also, that's fine. But you're going to need your concealment holster, and it should be a holster that has a trigger cover on it. Um, Magazine or speed loader pouches, or somewhere on your person to carry your extra magazines. So you're going to need something to put the magazines in, pouches, whatever. All of this stuff, except for the firearms and the ammunition, can be found on my products and offers page on my website. These are not my products. This is just me showing people, some ideas of where to go to get stuff. So you're gonna need a belt. A if you're coming in yoga pants or sweatpants or something like that, you're gonna need to get a battle belt to put your holsters and magazines and stuff on. So I would suggest wearing pants. Minimum of 100 rounds. Normally for a class like this in normal time periods, I would suggest a normal class round count would be 3 to 500 per person, if not more. But with the price and scarcity of ammunition right now, we're gonna do everything we can to make every single round count. So minimum of 100 rounds. If you can get more, by all means, bring more, but a minimum of 100. Snap caps or dummy rounds for your specific caliber pistol. You'll probably only need 2 or 3 of them. I have a ton of 9mm snap caps. I have other people that are my partner that's doing this with me. He's going to probably have a few different calibers, but if they only cost a couple bucks, you can order them right from my website, or it'll take you where to order them from. So you're going to need 2 or 3 snap caps or dummy rounds. Cleaning equipment, we'll have it, but if you have your own, bring it. Proper clothing and footwear, that's a necessity. And then your ear and eye protection. We'll have extras of that too, but I would advise getting your own for shooting. Eye protection and ear protection is going to be mandatory while we're on the range. We're going to be shooting paper and steel, and safety is our priority. So you're going to need the proper protective equipment. So that's the gear list. Like I said, we already have 7 people signed up, so there's limited space. So if you want in, get in. The price is going to be $115. Once again, the date is going to be May 1st. It's going to be held at the Central Michigan Sportsman's Club. The address is 4391 East Stanton Road, Stanton, Michigan, and that's about 5 miles west, or 5 miles east, excuse me, 5 miles east of Stanton, right there on Ithaca Stanton Road, Washington Road 522, whatever you want to call it. Any questions, comments, or concerns, feel free to get a hold of me. It's going to be all day on the range, firing and shooting. So plan for all day. Don't. The time is kind of up in the air, but I'm guessing this is going to take somewhere between 6 and 8 hours, possibly more, depending on how things go. My partner and I are meeting up this week to run through the course a couple times by ourselves and try to set everything up. That way, we have all of the hiccups out of the way while we're doing it, so it doesn't happen while the students come for the first class of the year. So there's the information on that. So on another topic, um, dealing with guns, gun laws, and all that stuff. Our wonderful, bright president came out this last week, and announced some executive actions on firearms. And just like every other gun law, it's bullshit. Pardon my language, but this is bullshit. And none of these common sense gun reforms are going to do anything to protect anybody. All they're going to do is cost the population money and disarm law-abiding citizens. That's what they're going to do. So these common sense steps that he's trying to persuade Congress to put into law and persuade the ATF into enacting. One of them is they're going to do away with so-called ghost guns. This is the dumbest thing I've ever heard. So what? Maybe not ever, but it's right up there on the top of the list. So what they refer to as a ghost gun. So a big, huge market in industry these days is building your own firearms. I've brought people in before to build guns with me. They weren't my guns. It was people that paid for the equipment, and I just walked them through the process and helped them along the way. And what a so-called ghost gun is you can legally order and buy what's called an 80% receiver through the mail because it's not a finished product. It's just a block of metal or polymer in some cases that with some knowledge and some equipment you can turn into the lower receiver of a firearm. And it's a big thing in the AR world. It's a big thing in the Glock world, and there's a few other types of guns out there that you can do it with. But you get an 80% receiver, and then normally what you do is you buy a jig and you use a mill or a drill press or a router, and you cut it out, and then you use that and you make a complete firearm out of it. And there's no serial numbers on them, and it's completely legal. And I'm betting there's well over a few million of them rolling around this country. All kinds of people do this regularly. And it's just a fun project to do, and that way you've built your gun from start to finish, and it's a sense of pride and accomplishment, and um, it's a fun activity. And they're trying to do away with it because they want to track firearms. Well, this is so stupid because long guns have here in Michigan, long guns have no tracking on them. So when you buy a gun from a licensed gun dealer, they have to fill out some paperwork, and they keep that paperwork in their records for, I think it's a minimum of 20 years. And then you go out in the world with that long gun. Well, then you can sell that long gun to someone else and down the road, and there's no paper trail required on it. I mean, if someone saw that I had a firearm that they liked and they said, hey, I'll give you $1,000 for that gun, the legal process is here you go, take the gun. They give me $1,000. No background check, no nothing required. It's the way it should be. And law-abiding citizens aren't out there committing crimes with guns. So why are we limiting law-abiding citizens on what they can and cannot do? And so they're trying to do away with so-called ghost guns. That's the first executive action. The second one is they're trying to do away with pistol stabilizing braces, or at least make it to where you have to buy a tax stamp to have a rifle with a pistol stabilizing brace on it. Because I'm going to explain this here in real quick terminology for those of you who don't understand. So there's a such thing as an AR pistol, and so it's an AR style receiver and inner guts, and then you have a shorter barrel on it, and then instead of a buttstock that you hold up to your shoulder, it has something that's shaped like a buttstock, but it has a hole in the middle that you put your hand through, and it's called a pistol stabilizing brace. And it makes that gun into a pistol as long as it's from the end of the buffer to the end of the barrel, whatever is permanently attached at the end of the barrel, as long as it's under 26 inches and it has a stabilizing brace on it. And there's a bunch of other factors in play, but then that becomes a pistol instead of a short barreled rifle. And now what they're trying to do is make it to where the stabilizing brace makes it a short-barreled rifle instead of a pistol, and you have to pay for and request a tax stamp, and it takes sometimes, months and months and months, sometimes over a year, and you got to send paperwork to the ATF along with fingerprints and go through this process, and basically it's the government getting more money. So they're not making them illegal, they're just making it to where they're taxed a $200 fee for you to own them. So more money out of our pockets for absolutely no reason. So that was item number 2. Item number 3 was going towards red flag laws, which we have already found out through case after case after case do not work, because someone gets mad at me, they call law enforcement up and say that I'm a danger to myself or someone else, and then I got law enforcement kicking my door in, and it turns into a bad situation, and there's no due process. One of our constitutional rights is that we have due process. So before someone can come into my property and take my possessions, by law, I have to have my due process where they find me guilty or of something. So they're trying to push red flag laws. The 4 and 5 deal with community violence intervention programs. So they're going to take a bunch of government agencies, dump a bunch more money into it, and try to enact these community violence intervention programs in inner cities and places where there's more crime at in that area. And then number 6 was to make David Chipman the director of the ATF. So this guy, David Chipman, first off, he's a retired ATF agent, and he was involved in, I might be mistaken here, but it was one of those ATF cases from the past where they went into the Branch Davidian compound and killed a bunch of people, including women and children. And then there's pictures all over the internet now of this guy posing with the burnt up bodies. And so he was involved in the massacre at the Branch Davidian compound. And he was also an advisor for the Giffords Gun Control Group. So this guy fights against us having gun rights, and he's a so-called gun owner, but that's how people like that work. They're like, it's good for me, but it's not good for you. I should be able to have protection. I should be able to have firearms. I should be able to have what I want, but you're not as good as I am. It's like all of our politicians tried to enact these gun laws. These people are like, oh, guns are bad, but who are they protected by all day? Trained armed security with so-called assault weapons, which I've explained that in past videos, what their new terminology is for an assault weapon, and none of the things that they describe make a firearm more dangerous or less dangerous. And but they're trying to limit our rights and our ability to protect ourselves. So that's the stuff that he put out in his executive action, and none of it is good for us. So what we need to do, first off, is watch for the ATF comment period to open up. So back last year, I want to say it was December, they tried to do away with stabilizing braces for pistols. The ATF was coming after stabilizing braces. Well, what they do is they're required by law, after they come out with this proposed new law, they have to have a comment period for us, the civilian population, to get out, or the population in general, doesn't have to be civilians, to get on there and comment on our thoughts on this new law that they're trying to put into effect. And it didn't even get through the whole comment period. So many people were against it, because most people that understand what these things are understand that they do nothing to make a gun more or less dangerous. So why are you going to limit our ability to have them? It would make a stabilizing brace basically the same thing as a short-barreled rifle, a machine gun, a fully automatic weapon, or a suppressor, where you have to go through this process of paying for a tax stamp to have this piece of equipment. And so none of that stuff is illegal. It's just that you got to pay a bunch of money to have and go through a process to have it in your possession legally. And it's just more money out of pocket and more ways to make it to where our rights are limited. So I can't urge this enough. Get a hold of your congressman, get a hold of your senators, get a hold of anybody in our state or your state that you can, and tell them that you are avidly against these gun reforms, because they don't make common sense. They call it common sense gun reform, but it's not common sense. Common sense is an armed population is a safe population. Common sense says that guy who went into that place in Boulder, Colorado, and killed 10 people, he would have never gotten that far in a place where people had concealed carry firearms on them. That's what common sense says. Common sense says I should have the ability to protect myself, and you should have the ability to protect yourself. That's what common sense says. But you can look throughout history, and whenever a government disarms the population, it has never turned out good. Never, not once has it turned out good. And even when they did the Brady Bill, so from 1994 to 2004, the Brady, I don't even know the name for it. It was the Brady Bill, is what I know it by, was put into place, and that limited our ability to have control of military style weapons. And there's publications out there where our government themselves say that there was no discernible decrease in violent crimes or gun crimes during the period of the Brady Bill. That them limiting our ability to have those firearms did not do anything to decrease crime or gun violence. Not one single bit of it mattered. So it doesn't make sense. And you as a gun owner, you as a person who enjoys your rights as an American citizen, we need to fight against this stuff. And you may be sitting there saying, well, I don't really care about pistol braces, or I don't really care who the director of the ATF is, or red flag laws don't really concern me, but they chip away at our rights little by little, little by little. And once you give up a right, you never give it back. So the next time they take a little more, and then they take a little more, and they take a little more. And eventually we have no more rights. And he came out there and said that no right is absolute, or no amendment is absolute. Our founding fathers, the people that fought for this country to be what it is, the people that fought the British to make America America instead of a British colony, they put this into place because they just came from a tyrannical government. Our Second Amendment right isn't in place for you to protect yourself against armed robbers or home invaders or muggers. It's not in place for you to have the ability to hunt. Our Second Amendment is in place for us to be able to defend ourselves and fight back against the tyrannical government, because our founding fathers were smart enough to know that no powerful government can stay in its place forever. Eventually, they're going to start encroaching on their civilian population, and they've started doing that a long time ago. Look at there's we call ourselves a free country, but and I'm not trying to go off on a tangent here, but there is nothing that we do that's free. I mean, think about even just the simple process of going to the bathroom. You're taxed to buy that toilet paper. There's regulations on how that bathroom is built and installed, and you got to pay taxes and have regulations on every single thing that we do all day long. And they're trying to take more away from us. So, and I'm not trying to be a conspiracy theorist or a nut job here, but we can't let this stuff happen. And there's strength in numbers. And like I say, in every single video I put out there, that's why I'm doing this, is because I want to get numbers. Um, I want to get a group of like-minded individuals together, and that way, if something does happen, if they go after one of us, they have to go after all of us. And so, you know, if you're interested in further on training, which you should be with the firearm, check out our May 1st defensive pistol course. If you don't get in the time period where before the class fills up, I will gladly put you on a waiting list. And we need to fight for our rights, people. And until next time, I appreciate y'all watching, and I will talk to y'all later. Have a great night.